From the precise second you step across the threshold, you're under surveillance. Every pair of eyes in the room is dissecting you, analyzing your posture, gauging the cadence of your voice, and decoding the pauses between your breaths. Most people perform this scan on autopilot, driven by their own deep-seated anxieties, hidden desires, or social insecurities. However, Niccolò Machiavelli approached this observation with cold surgical precision. To him, true dominance was never defined solely by your public speeches or your overt actions. It is defined by the speed at which you can dismantle the facades of those around you. If you wish to pull the strings, you must first comprehend the puppet. To ensure your own survival, you must be able to forecast their next move before they even think of it. To truly control a situation, you must psychologically autopsy a person long before they ever suspect they are under the microscope. Machiavelli operated on a single absolute truth: the surface is a lie. That warm smile, a calculated performance. The firm handshake, a concealed threat. That flattering compliment, a probe to test your defenses. He didn't rely on intuition. He relied on a system. He developed concrete methods, specifically 14 psychological frameworks designed to instantly strip away the mask and reveal a person's true character, their hidden agendas, and their fatal flaws. The first principle focuses on their interaction with the invisible class. Disregard how they behave toward you. That data is corrupted by their need to impress you. Instead, observe their conduct toward those they view as insignificant. The server pouring water, the quiet intern, or the janitor mopping the floor. Machiavelli understood that power is a silent corrosive to the fragile mind. When an individual feels there are no consequences when they believe they are superior to the person in front of them, they drop the act. This reveals exactly how they will dispose of you the moment you are no longer useful to their ambitions. Courtesy shown to the powerless is the only unadulterated metric of a soul. It is the gold standard of character analysis because it offers zero return on investment. They do it because of who they are, not what they can get. The second strategy is the weaponization of silence. Watch the mask crumble when the noise stops. Insecurity cannot survive in a vacuum. It needs sound to hide. Humans possess a deep, primal terror of the void. They chatter not for the joy of conversation, but to prevent being scrutinized in the quiet. If you want to decode a target, rapidly ensure your word count is half of theirs. Offer them nothing. Let the pause stretch until it becomes physically uncomfortable. Let your silence roar louder than any speech. In a matter of seconds, they will begin to hemorrhage information. They will try to fill the gap by impressing you, exposing their anxieties, and unveiling their true motivations. Silence is not emptiness. It is a heavy, crushing pressure. And under this weight, people blurt out truths they swore to take to the grave. This leads to the third maneuver, the zero offer. This is among the most ruthless tools in the Machiavellian arsenal. Withhold all social nourishment, no nods of approval, no warm smiles, no validation. Just exist in the space. Remain completely detached and impossible to decipher. Why is this necessary? Because the vast majority of people calculate their behavior toward you based on the resources they believe they can extract. When you cut off the supply of validation, you force their operating system to reboot to its factory settings. Watch the shift. Do they turn icy? That means their warmth was merely a transaction. Do they scramble to please you? That signals deep insecurity and a desperate need for external validation. Or do they remain calm and neutral? If so, they possess emotional discipline and are potentially formidable players. By giving them nothing, you force them to show you everything. Moving to the fourth tactic. Disruption of the control pattern. Many individuals navigate life reading from a teleprompter. They have rehearsed their charm, curated their vulnerability, and manufactured their honesty to manipulate public perception. Machiavelli recognized that these scripted actors are opaque walls unless you shatter the script. You must derail their train of thought. Hit them with a non sequitur question. When they land a joke, meet it with dead silence. When they offer flattery, respond with visible skepticism. Pivot the conversation abruptly, just as they start to find their rhythm. When the performance is sabotaged, the actor forgets their lines. They stumble, they panic, and in that split second of confusion, the real person peeks out from behind the curtain. The fifth tactic involves stress testing their allegiance through calculated deprivation. Never wait for a catastrophe to discover who is loyal. Manufacture a minor crisis. Deny a small request. Refuse a favor they assumed was guaranteed. Withdraw your attention for a short window and observe the fallout. Do they maintain their respect, or does the mask rot away, revealing criticism, emotional distancing, or malicious gossip? The strategic mind understands that loyalty is not defined by behavior during victory. It is defined by reaction to denial. A simple whispered "no" will illuminate the loudest, most critical truths about a person's nature. The sixth tactic requires you to ignore the audio and track the visual, measure their focus. Tongues lie, but eyes do not. As they speak, map the trajectory of their attention. Do their eyes constantly flicker toward the most powerful person in the room? That is a symptom of status addiction. Do they completely erase those with lower social standing from their field of view? That indicates they only respect leverage and advantage. Are they glancing at their device while you are mid-sentence? You're merely a placeholder to them, not a priority. Are they mirroring your body language too perfectly? That is a manipulation tactic to manufacture rapport. Machiavelli did not just listen to the melody. He analyzed the audience. Attention is the ultimate currency. Where a person spends it reveals exactly what they cherish and exactly what they consider worthless. The seventh tactic is the Trojan horse flaw. Feed them a fabricated weakness. Confide in them a small, untrue defect about your character. Say something like, "I have a tendency to overanalyze every detail," or "I used to be too naive," or perhaps, "I struggle with direct confrontation." Then wait and watch. If they store that information and later weaponize it, using it to mock you or undermine you in a group setting, you have identified a predator. If they gloss over it, they are likely respectful or simply cautious. If they reciprocate by sharing a genuine struggle of their own, they are seeking a safe connection. By planting a fake vulnerability, you test their killer instinct without exposing your actual jugular. The eighth tactic is the imposition of the waiting game. There is no quicker method to diagnose a person's level of narcissism and entitlement than to delay their gratification. Reply to their messages hours late. Be ambiguous about confirming plans. Take an agonizingly long time to deliver a requested item. The entitled will spiral into panic launch guilt trips or resort to passive-aggressive jabs. The patient and the strong will adapt and hold their ground. Machiavelli was not merely searching for loyalty. He was hunting for resilience. Individuals who lack patience are invariably the first to reveal their toxic underbelly when circumstances defy their expectations. Time is the ultimate solvent. It dissolves facades to expose true temperament. This leads us to the ninth strategic maneuver, observing who they attempt to replicate. Every human being is a mimic, whether they realize it or not. We unconsciously download the vocal tonality, the aesthetic choices, and the behavioral quirks of those we admire. Machiavelli understood that you can reverse engineer a person's hidden ambition simply by analyzing their idols. If they model their behavior after tyrants or powerful figures, they are starving for control and dominance. If they construct their personality around popular socialites, their primary drive is attention and external validation. However, if they mimic the virtuous and the saintly, what they truly desire is moral supremacy over others. The figure a person chooses to emulate is the blueprint of who they desperately wish to become. Once you identify the reflection they are chasing, you have unlocked the map to their deepest insecurities and desires. The 10th tactic is designed to weaponize their own emotions against them, trigger their envy, and study the micro-expressions that follow. Drop a subtle mention of a recent victory, a lucrative opportunity, or high praise you received from a superior. Then lock your gaze on their reaction. Does the smile look strained or mechanical? Do they immediately try to shift the topic to something else? Do they instinctively minimize your success with a backhanded comment that is the unmistakable scent of envy? According to Machiavellian philosophy, envy is the single most hazardous emotional indicator because it is the necessary precursor to sabotage. No one betrays you without first envying you. True envy never screams. It flickers for a fraction of a second. But once you are trained to spot that glitch in their mask, you will never miss it again. The 11th tactic involves probing their hatred rather than their love. Professing love for something is easy to fabricate for social points. Instead, ask them, "What type of person do you absolutely despise?" Or, "What specific behavior do you find unforgivable?" Their answer is almost never about the external world. It is a projection. The traits people claim to loathe with passion are usually the very traits they have suppressed within their own shadow. You will often find that those who vocally crusade against arrogance are harboring a deep, quiet arrogance themselves. Those who loudly condemn dishonesty are frequently the most skilled manipulators in the room. And those who claim to hate weakness are often paralyzed by the fear of appearing vulnerable. In their judgment of others, you will find a confession of their own sins. The 12th tactic requires you to identify exactly what forces them to break eye contact. Sustained eye contact is an assertion of power, but the moment it breaks, the truth slips out. Introduce volatile subjects. Financial status, shame past defeats, or hierarchy and track their pupils. Watch for the twitch. The shift to the floor or the rapid blinking the second a topic strikes a nerve. Machiavelli knew that the eyes are not merely windows to the soul. They are the emergency exits for suppressed anxiety. The subject that causes their gaze to flee is the subject their mind fears the most. Now we move to tactics. 13 and 14, which are the most devastating tools in the arsenal. These were the methods Machiavelli himself utilized to safeguard thrones, navigate treacherous courts, and pull the strings of the powerful men around him. When you deploy these, you stop merely reading the person. You begin to control the lens through which they view you. The final two strategies shift from passive observation to active engineering. These are about manipulating their perception of reality to force the truth into the light. While amateurs try to guess what others are thinking, the master provokes the target into revealing it. The goal is to manufacture tension rather than trust. You do not ask for the truth. You trigger a reaction that makes the truth impossible to hide. These concluding tactics are designed to lay bare a person's internal operating system. You do not wait for data, you set the stage and watch them perform. The 13th tactic is to transform yourself into the mirror they cannot escape. Most individuals navigate existence wearing a carefully constructed mask. They perform a role, they use charm as a weapon, and they pretend. But Machiavelli discovered that when you reflect a person's tone, their physical posture, or their specific vocabulary back to them slowly and with precision, you activate a deep, unconscious mechanism of self-recognition. They see their own nature reflected in you, and their subsequent reaction will tell you everything they are trying to conceal. For example, match their casual demeanor. Do they suddenly become aggressive, as if trying to re-establish dominance mirror their projected confidence? Do they retreat unsure of how to navigate and equal mirror their insecurity? Do they suddenly act superior or resort to mockery to soothe themselves? By becoming their psychological echo, you generate friction. Most will not consciously realize what you are doing, but their instincts will react violently or submissively. That visceral response informs you whether you're dealing with an authentic operator, a defensive amateur, or a manipulator. The more uncomfortable someone becomes when their own energy is directed back at them, the more fraudulent their original performance was. The 14th tactic is the art of disarming with reverence before striking with observation. The average person walks around expecting judgment and criticism. Consequently, they arrive with their shields up, armed with excuses and filtered speech. Machiavelli's brilliance was to infiltrate their defenses with unexpected respect, praise their intellect, validate a minor achievement, agree with a statement they made even if you find it questionable. Why do this? Because when you provide someone with psychological safety and admiration, they lower their armor. Once the shield is down, you launch the surgical question, the one they are completely unprepared for, the one that strikes at the core. For instance, you might say, "You have such a methodical mind. What is the single biggest fear driving your decisions?" Or you project incredible self-assurance. At what point in your life did you learn to fake that confidence so effectively? Or perhaps you are clearly gifted at analyzing people. How do you detect when someone is analyzing you? The respect creates the opening, but the intrusive question rips the mask away entirely. People are far more likely to spill secrets when they feel admired, and that is precisely when you extract the most valuable intelligence. Now that you possess the framework for reading people psychologically, you must advance to the second layer, reading them strategically. Machiavelli had no interest in personality traits for the sake of curiosity. He was interested in utility. He viewed human beings as terrain to be mapped. Every weakness, every habit, and every blind spot is a lever that can be pulled, a button to be pressed, or a trap to be avoided. Use their fragility as your strength. Peeling back the layers of someone's psyche grants you something far more valuable than mere empathy or comprehension. It hands you the reins of command, allowing you to guide them without force. For instance, if their deepest terror is being left behind, strategic withdrawal becomes your most potent weapon. Should they starve for validation, a hint of coldness will compel them to work harder for your favor, whereas those addicted to rigid order will crumble the moment you introduce calculated chaos. Then there are the predators, the ones concealing malice beneath a veneer of charm, clutching a knife while offering a handshake. Possessing this insight means you know precisely which thread to pull to unravel them, turning psychological observation into the art of invisible combat. Classify them mentally, but seal your lips. True strategists like Niccolò Machiavelli understood that categorizing your pieces aloud is a rookie mistake. His assessments were strictly internal, never voicing terms like egomaniac or neurotic to the subject's face. He simply watched, filed the data, and maneuvered accordingly, knowing well that vocalizing a diagnosis immediately surrenders your tactical advantage. Targets will instinctively resist a label, yet they remain defenseless against a cure or a poison administered without a prescription. Consider the sycophant in disguise. They operate on a fuel of constant affirmation and can be steered easily with flattery, yet they turn volatile the second that supply is cut off. Then observe the quiet ascender, the one who feigns fealty while scanning for an empty throne. Acknowledge their competence, but never mistake their proximity for friendship. Look out for the volatile prodigy possessing immense intellect coupled with brittle emotions. Their output is valuable only so long as you can stabilize their mood swings. Beware the perpetual victim, the one who offers unasked for alibis and explosive defenses for such noise is almost invariably a smokescreen for deep-seated shame or wrongdoing. You have no obligation to hold a mirror to their nature. Your only duty is to manage their behaviors seamlessly, ensuring they remain oblivious to the strings you are pulling. To truly gauge the mettle of a man, watch his reaction to refusal. Nothing exposes the soul quite like the word no. The old Florentine diplomat taught that true power isn't displayed in what one takes, but in the ability to withstand denial. Deny them a small entitlement. a requested favor, a bit of praise, or your time and retreat to observe. If they maintain their cool, you are dealing with a disciplined mind. However, should they respond with passive-aggressive barbs or visible irritation, you know instantly that their vanity holds the leash. If their persona fractures, completely revealing a totally different personality, realize their previous charm was merely a performance. Rejection forces the actor to break character. Identify their intended audience, for Machiavellian logic dictates that communication is never idle expression, but always a calculation. Every syllable uttered in your presence is an attempt to triangulate their status, even if the speaker is unaware of their own maneuvering. Ask yourself who the show is for. Are they courting your favor, signaling superiority to the tribe, or perhaps competing with a ghost, not even in the room? They are broadcasting their insecurities. Track their gaze and note who they glance at immediately after speaking to see whose judgment they fear most. Every witticism and hot take is a bid for validation, and once you pinpoint the source of that validation, you understand who actually holds the deed to their soul. Often, you will find you're merely a spectator. To dive deeper, identify what they trumpet most loudly, then search for its complete absence. Humans have a habit of advertising the inventory they lack. The person self-identifying as a candid truth-teller is usually utilizing weaponized honesty to deceive you. The individual who constantly claims to hate complications and conflict is almost invariably the hurricane at the center of the storm. Likewise, the martyr who insists they live only to serve is often harboring a stockpile of resentment or using guilt as a shackle. Any virtue that requires a billboard is a fraud. Real competency and character do not need to announce themselves, they simply exist. When a value is shouted from the rooftops, examine the shadow it casts, for that dark space contains the authentic biography of the person. These are not mere speculations, but precision instruments designed to give you the upper hand, transforming people from unpredictable chaos into solvable equations. You begin to view humanity as a series of algorithms, loops, and triggers, yet there remains a final critical layer to master. Diagnosis is useless without prescription. You must decide whether to nourish their delusions, shatter their defenses, or utilize their quirks to ascend. Such distinct vision carries a heavy burden, balancing the perilous line between godlike detachment and tyrannical control. Yet the grand strategist never shied away from this reality. He accepted that peers and rivals were not merely flesh and blood, but pieces on a board waiting to be advanced. With the ability to decode the human cipher now in your arsenal, the objective shifts to leveraging that data for total victory, ensuring the hand that moves the pieces remains forever in the shadows. Mastery is not found in the hoarding of secrets, but in the operationalizing of them, executing maneuvers so subtle the subject believes they are walking a path of their own design. Here lies the crucible where passive observation transmutes into active dominant influence. You cease to be a spectator. You become the architect of their reality, guiding their actions while they remain blissfully unaware of the course correction. Amateurs attempt to sway others with rational arguments or emotional pleas, but the true prince cares little for being understood or empathized with. His sole objective is compliance, unquestioning, automatic, and invisible compliance. To govern those who believe they are free, you must master the art of inception, planting the seed of an idea so they claim the harvest as their own. Begin by holding up a mirror to their hunger. Whether they seek prestige, safety, or fame, never block their path or argue with their needs. Instead, amplify that signal back to them. If you encounter a wolf hungry for power, feed its ego until it eats out of your hand. To disarm the insecure, you must become a mirror that validates their unseen efforts. To neutralize the dominant, you must verbally bow to their illusion of control. When a person feels truly perceived and deeply understood, their psychological defenses crumble, allowing you to seamlessly pivot the conversation. You do not ask for favors. You simply link their deepest internal cravings to your external objectives. Consider this practical application. If their soul hungers for recognition, subtly imply that aligning with your vision is the fastest vehicle to the acclaim they seek. If they crave influence and power, demonstrate how your roadmap provides the stage for their visibility. The grand strategist never fights against the current of another's desire. You hijack the momentum of their want, steering it so that by the time they walk your path, they are convinced they paved the road themselves. Secondly, master the art of strategic vulnerability to lubricate the gears of conversation. Human beings possess an innate narcissistic urge to talk about themselves, particularly when they believe they are rescuing someone else. Machiavelli wielded this psychological lever with the precision of a surgeon deliberately exposing a calculated weakness. He would reveal a flaw that was believable enough to feel authentic, yet insignificant enough to pose no real threat to his authority, saying things like, "I confess I struggle to trust my gut when meeting new people." Or perhaps, "I tend to get so lost in the details of my work that I miss the bigger picture." Or even, "I envy how naturally you manage these personalities. I've never had that gift." Why do this? Because it manufactures an immediate emotional imbalance in your favor. They instantly feel superior, which feeds their ego. They feel helpful, which triggers emotional investment. And they feel trusted, which creates a potent, albeit false, intimacy. In this manufactured state of comfort and superiority, the floodgates of their discretion burst open. They begin to hemorrhage information they would normally guard with their lives, not because you interrogated them, but because your feigned submissiveness made them feel safe enough to boast. A mind that feels secure speaks without filters, but a mind that feels superior speaks with dangerous truth. By playing the student, you unlock the master's secrets. Thirdly, employ the tactic of the counterfeit confession. Reveal half a secret to manufacture a sense of false equality. People are wired to reciprocate trust. They cannot help but match your wager. Therefore, the Machiavellian operator offers a partial truth or a curated confession, just enough vulnerability to seem raw and human, but never enough to hand over a loaded weapon. You might whisper, "I learned the hard way that loyalty is rare in this industry." Or, "I was overlooked for years until I finally stopped being the nice guy." This constructs a false mirror where they see their own struggles reflected in you. They conclude you are just like them. And in that wave of relief, they lower their shield. Then the law of reciprocity kicks in, and they reveal a genuine damaging vulnerability. This is the ultimate unequal exchange. You give them a harmless puzzle piece, and in return, they hand you the entire map to their psyche. Fourth, never label them yourself. Let them define their own identity, and then weaponize that definition against them. One of the most potent forms of manipulation is to step back and allow the target to construct their own cage. Let them tell you exactly who they think they are. Listen closely as they proclaim, "I am the kind of person who values loyalty above money." Or, "I absolutely detest when people waste my time." Or, "I pride myself on being logical, not emotional." You have just been handed the blueprint of their ego. You now understand exactly what self-image they are desperate to protect, allowing you to frame every request or idea in a way that aligns with their script. Should you ever need them to act against their self-interest, you merely need to tie the action to their proclaimed values, making refusal psychologically painful. You might say, "I am coming to you because you are the only person here who truly understands the value of loyalty. I trust you to handle this discreetly." Or, "I know you have zero tolerance for inefficiency, so here is the direct shortcut we need to take." You are not persuading them. You are trapping them. You are reaffirming their idealized self while steering the ship where you want it to go. They will not resist, because to do so would be to contradict their own identity. Fifth, construct a reputation they are forced to uphold. Remember that the human animal fears the loss of status far more than it craves the gain of it. Give them a high pedestal to stand on, and they will be terrified of falling off. Machiavelli would frequently assign reputations to people before they had actually earned them, effectively trapping them in a role. You might casually mention, "You're known around here as the one person who always keeps their word," or "People respect you because you refuse to get dragged into petty office politics." Now they are on the record. You have raised the stakes, and the psychological pressure to maintain that facade is immense. If they were to act against the identity you publicly bestowed upon them, they would risk looking fraudulent, inconsistent, or weak. To avoid this dissonance, they stay in character. They will rigorously uphold the definition you provided because you have turned a simple compliment into a binding social contract. Just like that, you have installed a specific operating system for their behavior without ever barking a single command. Sixth, master the art of the calculated leak. Direct influence often triggers resistance, but indirect discovery triggers belief. Sometimes the most powerful move is to ensure they overhear the right information. This could be a staged conversation where you recount how you outsmarted a ruthless competitor, a joke that implies you are impossible to deceive, or a casual passing remark that demonstrates your standards are impossibly high. These information leaks create a sense of anticipation and force them to recalibrate how they view you. People will instinctively adjust their behavior to align with the impression they believe they discovered on their own, rather than one that was forced upon them. This is exactly the outcome you desire. When people feel they have figured you out, they stop analyzing your motives. And the moment they stop questioning you, they become predictable pawns. Seventh, allow them to win the opening skirmishes so you can dominate the war. One of the coldest, most effective Machiavellian strategies is to grant people early low-stakes victories. Let them believe their idea saved the day, that their leadership is essential, or that their insight is peerless. The strategist feeds the target's ego with small, harmless wins, all while quietly engineering the final outcome to serve their own agenda. This works because human beings are biologically wired to protect what they think they have built, and to defend ideas they believe they originated. They remain fiercely loyal when they feel important, even if they are merely being utilized as instruments. Let them write the first sentence provided you control the final period. By this stage, you are no longer simply reading people. You are building architectural frameworks around their predictable behaviors. You are no longer reacting to their moves. You are writing the script they are unknowingly acting out. But understand this, the highest level of this dark art is not about them. It is about what your capacity to dissect others reveals about you. For in every mind capable of such high-level perception, there exists a profound and dangerous shadow. The ultimate trap of mastering human nature is the seduction of arrogance. When you can effortlessly dissect the motivations of everyone around you, you risk falling into the delusion that you exist on a higher plane of existence, navigating the world with cold detachment and stripping away your capacity for genuine empathy. Suddenly, manipulation stops being a tool for survival and becomes a form of entertainment. You start pulling strings just to see the puppets dance. This is the critical juncture where a truly dangerous intellect must undergo its most vital evolution, transcending the simple ability to decode behavior, influence outcomes, or outmaneuver opponents. The apex predator of social dynamics is the one who possesses the wisdom to recognize precisely when the game has been won, and the discipline to vanish into the shadows with the prize before anyone realizes the match is over. When you ascend to the absolute peak of Machiavellian mastery, the strategic landscape ceases to feel like a calculated contest. The friction disappears as the process transcends conscious gaming and integrates into your very nervous system, becoming pure, unadulterated instinct. You never have to pause and ask yourself, what are this person's hidden motives? Or, how do I decode this interaction? The analysis happens instantaneously, bypassing active thought entirely. You do not try to understand, you simply know. The moment you step across the threshold of any room, you are flooded with invisible data. You instantly perceive who is masking deep-seated insecurity, who is putting on a theatrical performance for validation, who holds the true, silent authority, and who is studying you with the same predatory intensity that you are applying to them.